I started to earn money by coding when I was 13. So this is my passion. I'm addicted to solving problems. When I came to Polkadot Blockchain Academy, everything changed because I realized everything else was kind of bullshit. I think the whole thing is the magic because Jam is like putting all the breakthrough cryptography, even Web3 developers that are working for other ecosystems.
Yeah.
Of course, some of them won't move to Polkadot, but I think resilience, which is one of the values of Polkadot, will be there. And we are resilient. We will be here in 5 years. But most of the other ecosystems will collapse or stop.
Yeah.
Polkadot will last.
The launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys, blasting off with Daniel Cukier. He's a core developer of the Jamixer project. We're very lucky to have him here to speak about some of the trials and tribulations of implementing the Jam Gray paper. Daniel, welcome to Space Monkeys.
Very happy to be here. I know the Space Monkey by watching, and now I'm here.
Right.
Super glad.
Well, we're meeting here at the PBA in Lucerne, and you came on my radar kind of in the last few months with your posts on Twitter, on X. And from what I understand, you're actually kind of newish to the Polkadot scene.
Yeah.
Yet you're so articulate and passionate about the Web3 vision. I guess the first question is, where do you think this passion for Web3 came from? Why is it so important to you?
Wow, I will have to go back so far in time for this.
Let's go back.
I am a developer since I was 8-year-old.
Wow.
I'm 46, so
you're developing on sticks and paper? Or?
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
My first computer was an Apple II in 1987.
Wow.
So I was 8-year-old,
Yeah.
8, 9. And for me, when I got my first computer, winning life.
It was magic.
Yeah, it was magic. And
Yeah.
because when I was young, I liked two things that I asked my mother and my father to give me.
Okay.
I want a piano and I want a computer.
Whoa.
And my parents didn't give me the piano, so I didn't become a pianist.
Whoa.
I became a computer programmer.
Why do you think they gave you the computer?
I think because it's smaller. Even if that time computer were
quieter.
as
And
big
quieter.
as-
Yeah.
quieter.
Yeah.
I think it was less expensive, even if it was very expensive at that time.
Yeah.
I started coding by copying code from magazines.
Ah, yeah.
This is how you learned to coding back then.
Yeah.
There was no internet.
Computer magazines.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the only one from my friends that had a computer.
You're saying you grew up in Brazil.
I grew up in Brazil.
And I kind of imagine that Macintosh computers came to Brazil a bit later than other parts of the world.
Actually, it wasn't a Macintosh. It was a Brazilian version of the Apple II that was built by a Brazilian factory called Cukier. But it was the same system, everything the same.
Was it licensed or was it kind of
yeah,
like a
I don't know.
rip-off?
Actually, I don't remember.
Interesting.
I really don't remember.
Okay, yeah.
But there was some computer that was compatible with Apple II.
Yeah.
And I was learning BASIC, the programming language.
Yeah, okay.
And I started programming it, and I just wanted to be in the computer all the time. Was my passion.
What were some of the first things that you programmed? The first applications? Games, of course.
Games.
Yeah.
I started to work really early. I started to work to earn money by coding when I was 13.
Whoa.
And that time there was no internet. So basically my mother had a store and she sold good in the stores.
Yeah.
And in Brazil there was inflation. And we had to update the prices of the goods very often.
Wow.
So there were these big lists of prices.
Yeah.
And then I have to type. Basically, I wasn't a programmer. I was a typer.
Yeah.
Because my mother hired me as a typer to
Sure.
type the prices. And then I realized that I could build a spreadsheet that could calculate the price automatically instead of typing. So basically,
Like against an exchange rate or?
yeah, basically, I took the old price, I apply some kind of like update percentage.
Yeah.
And then you have the new price. So my mother thought I was typing, but I was like programming.
There you go.
And after like 1 hour programming and making the prices for all the goods, I was playing games.
Right. Okay, so you saw the efficiencies of programming.
So I think I am someone from the future. because I see myself as a person that I disconnected from reality of most of the people, because I knew that the computer would be something that all the people would use, but nobody used the computer.
Right. You were so
And
early.
I started to learn how to program. And then when the internet came to Brazil, nobody had internet, but I had access to internet in my school, and I started to use the internet. So I'm always passionate about the technology changing people's lives and making things better and facilitating our relationships.
Okay.
So these keep happening over and over again. And then I went to university. I started to work for different companies. And so I'm passionate about technology.
Yeah, sure. Just in general.
Yeah, and
Even pre-web.
And I built my career like coding as a developer. Then I got manager. I climbed up the ladder of any professional developer up until being the CTO of companies. So I was CTO in different companies in Brazil.
Yeah.
Until I found myself as a CTO leading a 80 engineers team for a fintech.
How did you fit into that role? Did you like managing?
No, I hate it. It was the natural path anyone
It's what you
evolve.
do.
Yeah, I had to learn how to deal with people. Yeah. Even if I still I'm not that good at it up until now, but I had to learn, and there are some skills that you learn.
Yeah, people just don't execute like a piece of code does, right? Like a person doesn't execute as reliably as a piece of code.
Exactly. Yeah, and not only that, my way of thinking is that I type and it works.
Yeah.
But with people, you type and it doesn't work.
Yes, yeah.
So it's really frustrating. And my passion was always like writing code. And even when I was CTO, I was always trying to keep writing code. But when you go to ordinary companies and you climb the ladders, you write less code. So you get very, very unhappy. In my case, some people deal very well with this, but my case was very difficult. So I was always trying to look for something else to make me happier.
Okay.
And this is how I got into blockchains and Web3. Because I was working for a fintech, and I saw a lot of problems that need to be solved.
Like what?
Like how do you manage to, in Brazil, for example, you have an interest rate of 20% a year, 30% a year, or 50% a year.
Interest
rate. For if you get some money loan, you have to pay a lot of interest.
That's the national rate?
Yes.
20, 30, 40%?
No, the minimum national right now is 16, the national.
16, whoa.
So when you get a loan from banks, on top of it, it's 20, 30, 40, even higher. The monthly credit card in Brazil is something like 15% monthly credit card.
Whoa.
Even if it's 10, it's very high.
Huge. How can an economy grow in those? It doesn't.
So my will when I was working for this fintech was to reduce this interest rate, the minimum it could be. Yeah. Because the minimum rate would be the base, but there was a big gap between the minimum and the actual gap.
Okay.
So maybe we could get money from outside, maybe we could, but it's the logistics and the bureaucracy is so complicated. And I saw blockchain as something that could solve this problem. I didn't know actually if it could solve, but I started to study it.
But it sounds to me like there's all these points of trust in the system that is slowing down the velocity of money, it's slowing down the velocity of information, and also sounds like a lot of people are getting a cut.
Exactly. There's a lot of cuts being taken.
That's ugly, man.
Yeah.
Sorry to say.
Yeah.
But that sounds really rough.
I am a person who likes to solve problems. So when there's a problem, I'm there trying to solve it.
Okay.
So this is my passion. I'm addicted to solving problems.
So how did you get introduced to the concepts of blockchain and ultimately the Web3?
I had a friend, a very old friend of mine, very futuristic also as myself.
Yeah.
And I was working for this fintech, and he asked me in a conversation like, you're probably looking at blockchains. And I said, no, I never heard about it. What is this?
Okay.
But this provocation, like, I need to check it out. And I started to study. And then I bought that book, The Bitcoin Standard, which is a classical.
Yeah.
And some others. Actually, one of the first books that I read also was How to DeFi from the CoinGecko.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a very practical book.
I read that too.
Yeah, so
both of
basically
those.
I bought the book and I actually practices what it was there, like create on a wallet and then try to and I got it was completely mind-blowing for me.
Cool. Yeah.
I said, wow, this is so cute, so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
This is so cool. I need to build on top of this thing. And after this moment that I started to study a little bit of blockchain, I couldn't even think about the company that I was working there anymore.
Yeah,
because
I know.
they were so far away, so far away. But I got a problem because I wanted to work with this like super technology. It's just like the 8-year-old Daniel that wanted to build systems in the computer and nobody had a computer.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like the same feeling of I have the toolings, I know how to build it, I have the ideas, but the world is so far behind. And then I got into this dilemma because if I want to work with blockchain, I won't be able to work in this company. And if I leave this company, nobody in the blockchain will hire me because I don't know anything about blockchain.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to break in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I spent some time struggling. I tried to talk with the CEO of the company, trying to create a spin-off there. And he was very friendly. We had very good conversations, trying to find a way to fit me into, because I really didn't want it to be the CTO anymore. I didn't want it to lead these engineers doing like basic stuff, very things that I already worked for many times in my life.
Understand.
I wanted to work with this new technology.
Yeah.
So I decided to leave. And because I didn't know anything about blockchain, I started to study and I created a community to learn in community instead of like just buying a book and reading by myself.
Yeah.
I met some friends, 2 friends, actually. We've met together online. One old friend that I've met in a random Web3 forum. I saw his messages. Oh, I know this guy.
Yeah.
Then I called him. Oh, are you in Web3? What are you doing? Let's do something together. I'm trying to learn. I don't know anything. Do you have a company, someone to recommend, something like that? And then he said, oh, but I have some idea of a community. Let's create a community. We can basically create educational content for developers because there's a lot of content for investors, for financials and things like that in the blockchain, but nothing for developers. And in Brazil, zero.
Right.
So we created this community called Web3 Dev. The original name was Web3 Hackers, but we changed to Web3 Dev.
Yeah.
It grew really fast. I didn't expect it. We created a Discord server, and in 2 months, we had 5,000 people there.
Whoa. And it was all Portuguese.
It was in Portuguese.
Yeah, brilliant.
All Portuguese.
This is a great arbitrage right now because there's so much competition in English for blockchain development and Web3, but there's way lower competition in basically any other language.
Yeah, and it's really hard to keep localized. We try to keep it localized. Then we evolved to create a Spanish version.
Yeah.
But bootstrapping, I think that the timing that we did it, I don't know if it will happen again because it was a lot of hype. A lot of people came.
When was this, by the way?
It was in 2021.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
COVID was happening.
Yeah, 2022.
Oh, okay.
2021, 2022.
Yeah.
So we created this Discord server. We invited some friends, and then suddenly there were a lot of people.
Cool.
We started to create a YouTube channel to create content. And one of our partners, he already had a course of Solidity in Portuguese, the first one in Portuguese.
Big, yeah.
And he had a lot of people that were watching his videos and learning Solidity from him.
Sure.
So we started to create courses, and we inspired a lot in that time in Build Space. I don't know if you heard about Build Space. It's a very interesting project that they were like teaching Web3 development, but and their content was open source, but only in English. So we translated their content. We changed and adapted to the Brazilian culture. We have thousands of developers that learned their first smart contract development with us.
So cool. So at this point, it's still Web3 for finance on your mind, or did you start to break into some other possibilities?
I think at that moment, I was just learning how to write smart contracts for everything.
Yeah, okay.
I just understand the technology because I didn't want to think about finance. I knew the technology. I knew that the technology was very promising, but I didn't know how to build it. So my idea by building the community was not like building a community. I was just learning.
I understand. Yeah.
I create content to learn. So today, when I post things about Jam, I'm learning Jam.
Exactly.
Because I'm not super specialist in Jam. And the way I learn is by creating content.
Yeah. Yeah, the way to kind of solidify an idea enough to describe to somebody else.
If you can explain to someone else, it means that you learned.
Why did you decide to go to the Polkadot Blockchain Academy? And it was in Hong Kong.
It was in Hong Kong.
Just a year and a bit ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So why did you decide to do that?
Because so the community evolved in a way that we were creating educational content for different ecosystems.
Yeah,
we were chain agnostic.
Actually, the community became a kind of a business. We built a small team of developers that were working for different customers in Brazil and actually outside Brazil also. So basically, everything that we earned from the customers, from the, let's say, the outsourcing software development, we invested into the community, creating content and generating more people to come and to learn more. And then the more people we have, when other customers come, we can look into the community for talented. So this was our flywheel. We wanted to increase the reach of Web3.
Sure.
And we were agnostic about what chain. We doesn't matter because in my view, the developer would choose the chain, and we as, let's say, educators, we educate you in any chain that you want. If you want to learn Solana, we teach you Solana. We were less, let's say, idealistic in terms of, because we have this business to run.
Of course.
And we need to like pay the bills and run the community. The community is growing. So this is what we're starting to do. So basically, Polkadot was the ecosystem that we couldn't get any content because it was more difficult. OpenGov wasn't still a thing. We didn't get any funding, or because we started to create content only for and Ethereum was much more, like hundreds of developers, much more developers. So it wasn't worth for us to create content for developers in the small ecosystem in our heads, because we didn't even know Polkadot in that time. So we went for different ecosystems to get grants. We got grants from Internet Computers, from Near, from Algorand, and they paid us to create content. And this is what we did for a time. And then going to Polkadot Blockchain Academy was another step into this journey of creating educational content.
An opportunity to go and get 5 or 6 weeks of high-class free education.
Because we didn't create content like just random stuff. We go deep dive, we learn and create. But when I came to Polkadot Blockchain Academy, everything changed.
Why? What changed?
Because I realized everything else was kind of bullshit.
Oh, okay. Do you remember the instructor or the person you met that kind of opened your eyes to that, or was it a little bit more gradual?
I think it was gradual, but I think the first thing that caught my attention was the quality of the people, the students, the instructor. Everybody was so high profile. Everybody is so well trained. Great people, very talented, very smart. And I saw a lot of people in other ecosystem as well, but not concentrated into a single place at the same times for like 9 hours straight every day, building and working. I found myself like, it's a dream. I want to be surrounded by these people forever. I don't want to go anywhere else. I started to rethink my life because the problem with the community that I created, for me, the community is great. Actually, it's still there. We're still creating content. We are just about to propose a new course for Brazilians. And actually, we created a proposal in OpenGov. It was approved. And we created this course, and this was a challenge for us because we were mostly in Portuguese. But when we created the proposal for Polkadot, one of the requirements was that the course would be in English also. Not only in Portuguese, but also in English.
Okay.
So we thought that would be better for us to translate our community to English, keep the Portuguese as an option, so people that speak Portuguese feel comfortable, but also welcome other people.
Yeah.
Not because if it's just Portuguese, only Portuguese people. But we are creating great stuff.
I know, yeah.
We're limiting to Portuguese. So
I know,
what in the beginning was a differentiator, after some times it was like a...
Holding it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we decided to do it in Portuguese and in English. And it was amazing because we grew the community by bringing more people. And actually, I met some students in PBA that did our course before coming here to train the Rust. Because
what's the course called?
The Rust State Machine. We took the Sean's state machine, blockchain state machine, Rust state machine course. That is like it's a GitHub repo that you can follow by yourself, but we transform the content because it's just content. And course is more than just content. You have to involve people, you have to have cohorts, you have to people to it's learning is a social experience. It's not just like content and you need to have people with you, working with you, learning with you, struggling with you. And this is why PBA is so powerful.
Totally. And this is what changed everything for you, right? So you're surrounded by people who are people of the future, just like you.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So now you've been in Polkadot for a little over a year, and you are implementing Jam. Okay. So you're implementing it with just one other guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you say their name or they're private?
Yeah. No. It's Luke.
Luke. Yep.
Yeah. I met in PBA Hong Kong. We met there.
Yeah.
And actually, I didn't know him very well. The thing was, when I left PBA, I was decided to stop working with Web3 Dev. I didn't want to, because I found myself as a CEO of a company.
Yeah.
The thing that I didn't want to do
there
at
you
all.
are again, I know.
So I was doing business again and again and again, trying to pitch, trying to sell, trying to write proposals. I was doing everything besides coding, which was the thing that I wanted. So when I came to PBA, and actually, this is a very interesting story. I just told to the students this. I went to PBA in the founders track. PBA before, they had two tracks, developers and founders. And because I didn't have time to study for the Rust exam to PBA, I subscribed myself to the founders track. And actually, I wanted to build something related to Polkadot, but I didn't know exactly what. We were building a different protocol at that time, and my partner came as a developer. So we both came to PBA.
Oh, perfect.
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And he was in the developers track, and I was in the founders. But the thing is, it changed because when I started to watch the classes and the technical content and the things that passionate me much more. Yeah. And there was these assignments that were not required for founders, but I'm gonna do it just for fun. And I didn't know Rust. Okay. I had to learn it very fast while being here. Yeah. So I learned a little bit of Rust. I programmed in different programming languages in my life, since Java, Visual Basic. So learning a new language is not that hard for me now after 30 years programming. So
no doubt.
Let's learn Rust. Let's do it. Let's do the assignment. So I did the assignment the first week. Okay, I can do it. Let's try the second week. And in the end, I did the whole developers track. And I had to get less interested into the founders track. Okay, I'm going to do the speech, whatever. I didn't want to do it.
No, I get
it.
But
I did it just to finish.
So you graduated both tracks?
Yeah, I did both tracks.
There you go. All right. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then I realized that I wanted to be developer. I wanted to stop like leading a company, being a CEO and things like that. And right after came Jam as a protocol. So it was like a cosmic encounter.
When Gav announced the $10 million Jam prize, that must have been like a holy light.
Yeah, it's like no-brainer. No-brainer, because this is what I want to work.
Totally.
And I decided to work alone. I said, I will build it. Yeah. If nobody wants to join me, I'm going to do it alone.
Wow.
I'm fine with that. I have some funding to support me for a while I don't get the prize, so I can work on it. And then I started to work, and I published some first lines of code in GitHub, talked with some PBA alumni if they wanted to join. And a lot of people like joined the first meeting. I did a meeting, there were like 10 people. Yeah. They joined the meeting and nobody cared. Everybody went, and I kept writing code. And one day there were a pull request from Luke.
I did a
Cool.
pull request. This is how he asked to join the team.
That's so cool. That's how it is, right? I mean, if you want to attract a team around you, the same thing happened with the Kus. You just work, and eventually people just kind of like, hey, what's going on? And they, they'll just start helping out. They'll start pitching in.
Yeah, so basically I had a PR from Luke,
Yeah.
and then we started to work together, and as time passed, I started to get passionate about Jam, and Jam is the thing. And after a little bit of time working with Jam, I also realized that there were not so many people talking about Jam.
Yeah.
Of course, within the Jam people group, there was like this conversation with Gab and things, but for the outside world, a lot of people, nobody was speaking about Jam.
Yeah.
And I saw that people wanted to know, what is Jam? What are you doing in this cave? Please explain
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
ordinary human. What is this? So I saw this as an opportunity to like share. And this is the way that I learn. As I said, it's not something that I do to earn anything. I didn't even know about the Yap prize. I didn't know.
Oh, did you end up on the list?
Yes, I ended up on that, but I didn't know. Actually, Kian that told me, oh, there's this, you are good in the line. I didn't even know that there was a like competition to create. I was just sharing what I was learning.
Yeah, yeah.
And then suddenly I was there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So your implementation, what language are you guys using?
We are working in Elixir because Elixir is a very particular language. A few people know. So one curiosity about Elixir is that it was created by a Brazilian. And I know the guy.
Oh, perfect.
Because he came from the Ruby community. I worked with Ruby for a long time. In Brazil, there's a big Ruby on Rails community, a lot of developers that work on early startups. Remember that Ruby on Rails was the language for startups, for builders.
Cool.
Those who just want to build something
Get their hands
without all
dirty.
the bullshit of Java and all this stuff. So Ruby on Rails has this very practical mindset of let's build something, and a very powerful language. And Elixir is a kind of an evolution of Ruby. It runs on top of the Erlang virtual machine.
Yeah.
And Erlang is a very, very old machine written by Ericsson in the 80s. So it's very mature ecosystem, as mature as Java.
Okay.
And it's particularly suitable for a decentralized system, for the distributed systems.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about it?
Being resilient to failure. So Erlang was built for telecommunications. And telecommunications, all the time, the lines fail, there's a problem, there's a bird that cuts the line.
Sure, and
So
they have
you-
to be very resource aware, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of the communications and be able to recover from crashes. So this is the mindset of Erlang. And this is exactly the kind of environment that we need for Jam. It's like very resilient.
Very cool, yeah.
So, and also not only that, but Elixir is a functional programming language. And functional programming is a kind of a paradigm that not everybody uses. It's not that common. People usually work with C or Rust, which is a mixed. C is more like procedural, and Java is like object-oriented. But functional is kind of a niche, like Haskell or Scala or Elixir. It's a kind of niche language. But what is interesting about functional programming is that we have a formal specification of Jam in the gray paper.
Yeah.
And formulas in math and functional programming are almost one-to-one. So you don't need to write a lot of code. It's very elegant. You just write the formula. Basically, you take the formula, you write it into the programming language with minimal changes, and it works.
Which is also probably why not a lot of people use it, because you need to understand the math.
Yeah, it's more math-oriented language.
I see.
So you, instead of describing the steps of things happening, you just create statements. This is this is that. And then you create the statements and the system works.
Cool. Okay.
So, and because we had the formal specification on the gray paper, is no-brainer to use a functional programming language.
This is a perfect choice for you. This is like, yeah, I get it. I see it. So how's it going? Milestone 1?
Actually, milestone 1 depends on gray paper 1.0.
Which we're still waiting for.
Yeah, we are still waiting.
Yeah.
So what we are doing right now is catching up with Gab's up-to-date, the most up-to-date version of the gray paper. We are already building milestone 2, because we finished up to now, we have completely compliant with gray paper, the last version.
Yeah.
So what we do is every time Gab
releases a new version, we update our codes to match the latest version.
Yep. Yeah.
And when we have time, we work on next milestones, basically milestone 2. Because milestone 1 and 2 is basically everything. From 3 to 5 is more like performance optimizations and this is what we still don't know.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's possible in Elixir just because, let's put this way. If Gem is a system that is more CPU bound, which means much more processing than networking and disk writing and more CPU than I/O, then probably our implementation won't be so performance.
Yeah.
But if it is more like balanced and there's a lot of I/O, there's a lot of networking mixed with CPU, then we can do a great job. Because we don't need to worry about it because Elixir do everything for us. So the networking part in Elixir is really, really easy. Networking, disk writing. So we just worry about writing the code and don't worry too much about the infrastructure, the communications. So this is what we expect. The virtual machine can handle thousands of processes in parallel, which is, by the way, this is what Gem is.
Yeah.
You are validating some blocks while you are assuring some other blocks. You are guaranteeing some blocks. You are storing some blocks. You are distributing the data to other nodes. So basically, you're doing a lot of things in parallel in the validator node. And Elixir and their Lang virtual machine deals very well with these concepts.
What do you think is the most beautiful or elegant piece of the Jam gray paper?
How everything is put together. I don't think there is one thing that is especially important. I think the whole thing is the magic. Because Jam is like putting all the breakthrough cryptography, even that actually, just by the way, I didn't know anything about all this stuff.
Okay.
So I'm not very specialist to saying anything.
Gotcha.
So you have Bandersnatch, you have erasure coding, all these concepts in Jam that I don't even, some of them I still don't know very deeply.
Sure.
Because I'm still learning. What I know is that Jam puts all these concepts together into a single piece of software and in a very, and formalized that you can like just take the formulas, implement, and it works. And this is, I think this is the magic. Each team is working independently. And we started to send blocks a few months ago. We started to send blocks from one team to other team to validate. So basically, I create a block, I send to other team and say, validate my block. And then the other team can validate my block and he can send blocks to me and I can validate. And it works.
Wow.
We started to do it, and right now I think we are more or less like 12 or 13 teams that validated each other's...
all in different languages.
In different languages, and we don't even know any line of code of other teams. We are just like, take your binary, send it to me, and I will say it's valid or it's not valid.
Wow. That is magic.
Yeah, I think this is so powerful.
Amazing. So you are an all-in kind of guy. You've moved your family to Lisbon, to be close to the Jam toaster. Is this why?
Yeah, actually, this is curious because I moved to Lisbon. And it was intentionally moving to Lisbon because I knew Lisbon was a kind of a crypto hub.
Yeah,
but I didn't expect that. Like we had the Polkadot Palace in Lisbon. This was
that was more that was more
lucky.
Extra. Yeah,
it was very lucky.
A sensible move from Brazil, obviously, to Portugal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now your family's there. You're right by the Jam toaster. I mean, you're all in on this Polkadot vision, on this Web3 vision. What do you think about outsiders' perception of these, the philosophy of Web3, the uses of Web3? Do you feel like people care about it? Do you think they should care more? How do you think this vision, your passion, fits into the progress of the greater world?
I think I'm living again the same old experience that I always lived in my whole life. Like people are completely blind. I'm seeing this future and nobody's seeing. I always feel like alone. And actually being here is a way for me to not feel so alone as I always feel, because now I'm with guys like you and Gav and all these people that like we can have conversations about the topics that we love.
Yeah.
People don't care. Not most people don't care, but because they don't know. They don't know what's happening. And I think even Web3 developers that are working for other ecosystem, of course, some of them won't move to Polkadot, but I think resilience, which is one of the values of Polkadot, will be there. And we are resilient. We will be here in 5 years. But most of the other like ecosystems will collapse or stop, and people will start to see, oh, okay, this is something that is lasting. Polkadot will last. It's impossible to because it's resilience. Decentralization is resilience. You can't attack this kind of structure. It's really hard to attack. There's this very famous book, The Spider and the Starfish. Did you heard about it? If you cut the starfish in half, it will duplicate and create 2 starfish. If you cut the spider in half, it dies. So most of the centralized system will get cut in half and die. And what will remain was the true decentralized systems. And this is why I'm here, because I truly believe that we need this kind of tooling. We need decentralized computation. We need decentralized money, decentralized identities. And people don't realize, because actually, if they knew that there are solutions for their problems, they would go for it. But there's a lot of time before people realizing it.
I see. It's an information issue. People just, as you said, are blind.
I think so.
That's right.
People are like just looking at meme coins and, oh, I want to be rich fast. And then they see Web3 as this nonsense that it became like gambling, meme coins and things like that. And they are blind to the real Web3 ideals. I am completely idealistic. And I think I align with Gav in this way. I see myself in Gav in a lot of things. Because we are idealistic. We truly believe that we can build something better. And we are working for it because this is what makes sense.
You're building the truth machine that will weather all trends and weather all storms. These hype trends will come and go, but eventually the magnitude of this source of truth will prevail. We expect it to.
We are betting on it.
We're betting on it.
I think we already have enough people and enough energy to stay for a while.
Agreed.
To keep building.
Maybe,
I don't know, maybe in 5 years we can have this conversation and say, oh, remember that day that we were there in Switzerland talking about this thing.
I know.
And say, oh, look how much it changed.
Beautiful. Daniel, it was so awesome to have you on the show, and thanks for coming and sharing your story. And thanks for being a man of the future and pulling everybody who's blind forward. We need people like you to make this happen. So thank you so much.
And thank you also, because I really believe that you are doing a great job. The best vision of the world is nothing if there is no person like you to bring this vision to the world and communicating it in a good way. So I think it's a partnership.